What up, friends? Pre-calc definitely made me want to drop out, and today we're going to be reviewing the Black Keys' newest album, Dropout Boogie. This is the 11th studio album by American rock duo The Black Keys, well, 10th if we're not counting the cover album Delta Cream. From my observations, the Black Keys seem to be having a bit of an identity crisis with their last few albums. From the anthemic and dirty rock tunes of El Camino, the psychedelic-tinged wild card of Turn Blue, and the sort of back-to-basics sound that Let's Rock and now Dropout Boogie are exploring, it feels like the boys are kind of wanting to do it all right now. For me, I found their descent back into raw blues to be an odd one. The band, ever since Brothers, seemingly has been leading up to albums like Turn Blue, so to see them go back to their blues roots now, it feels a bit underwhelming, I have to say. While Let's Rock had a decent combination of their more eclectic sounds and their traditional blues rock stylings, Dropout Boogie sees them embracing their past selves even further. This will definitely please some, especially the fans of their earlier blues material, but for me, it just ends up being kind of a run-of-the-mill sounding album. Not too much memorable about it, even if it is a serviceable blues record. The opening track, Wild Child, is definitely one of the most standout moments of the project, definitely a good opener, feeling like a natural continuation of the El Camino sounds. Tight and catchy riffs, fun rhythms, and melodic harmonies add up to create a song with some nice texture to it. The vocals also have a passionate cadence to them, and the transitions between verse and chorus is pretty smooth, I have to say. It's really just classic blues relationship stuff in the lyrics here, but it's delivered very well, and I think the track is fun enough to kinda look over that. It Ain't Over is another solid tune on the project, featuring a really groovy bass line and some pretty slick instrumentals overall. I'm also really digging the Turn Blue-esque synth that's on the chorus on this track, giving it more of an identity compared to the rest of the project. It ends up having more of an impact because of it, and this extends to the very hazy sounding guitar and light maracas that are thrown in here, adding to this sort of very smoky casino-esque vibe that is pretty amusing. This is also very fitting for the lyrics as well, with the boys here treating love like a gamble, sort of betting it all even if you know it might not work out in the end. After this, though, the album starts to feel kinda stagnant. There's a simple blues progression in For the Love of Money, featuring a very raw-sounding production style alongside the sort of tried-and-true guitar-drums combo in the instrumental. The vocals are okay, but they don't really have the passion that the first two tracks had. There's also not much difference between verse and chorus on this song, leading it to feel kinda bland. The lyrics are decent, lamenting over the fact that many people sacrifice their own morals and others all for money and wealth, but the instrumental just leaves a lot to be desired. How Long is probably the next notable track on the record, but for not the right reasons. I definitely think it's the worst track on the project. Taking an already simplistic sound and slowing it down does not make for a very interesting tune, and the vocals also are not picking up much slack here. The sludgy instrumentals just are not engaging at all, and the progression of this track just ends up feeling like a slog to listen to. The lyrics are also just your usual pining sort of love song with not much identity or personality to them, which just makes all of these problems even worse. The bridge is a bit better with its dire sounding guitar tone, but it's not enough to save this one, unfortunately. Happiness is one of the better tracks on here, thanks to a pretty engaging beat and a grittiness to the chorus that I like. It's got a good groove, and I like how bouncy and rhythmic it is to add to the song's catchiness. I feel like having a more layered track like this, even with a small range of instruments, works in its favor. The solo, in addition to the claps, help give the track a nice fuzziness, and I just feel like it has more of an identity compared to a lot of the other songs on this project. Baby I'm Coming Home is another pretty good one, I think, featuring some catchy bass lines, some twangy riffs, and a very passionate vocal delivery. I like how we've got some structure to the bass and drums, but the guitar almost sounds like drunk, like it's slurring the riffs or something. It's pretty interesting. It's fitting for a song about Dan's late-night drinking hours and how he's still trying to make it home to see his daughter. The beat shift on the last third of the song or so it also helped this track have an identity, I think, as it picks up the pace and it feels like Dan is trying to get home to his daughter as soon as possible. And that's honestly really all I have to say about this album. It's a serviceable blues record, but that's all it is, really. Compared to the more adventurous outings like Brothers, El Camino, and Turn Blue, this one was kind of a letdown. Even Let's Rock had some variety, but this one just feels very one note. The lyrics also aren't anything to write home about. They're almost all about love and relationships, nothing new to blues, and a lot of them just lack a lot of wit or personality to them. The songs and instrumentals on here are pleasant enough, and I didn't really hate anything on here, but for blues veterans, I feel like we should have had something a bit more experimental, a bit more bombastic, or just something less safe. The good songs on the project are also nothing too amazing, they're just standouts compared to the rest of the record. It feels like they've just been killing the experimentation that they started doing on their past few records that I mentioned, and that's just kind of sad to see. I'm feeling a decent 5 on the newest Black Keys record. Of course, we still have to talk about album covers on this show, and this one's okay, I guess. I guess it does have a very classic blues aesthetic to it. It's fairly raw, fairly dirty. It doesn't really have much modern polish to it, which I guess is kind of the point, because it's supposed to be just a very raw, album cover mixed with the raw instrumentals and all that. It just doesn't really have a lot to it, I think. Pink has been kind of their thing recently, which I think is pretty cool, but overall, it's just what it is, It's not trying to be anything artsy, so it's okay. But those are just my thoughts on this newest album by the Black Keys. What did you guys think? Do you think going back to their roots is the best thing, or are you also kind of missing the more experimental stylings that they've played with on some of their previous records? Let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell if you too are down to boogie, and until the next one, farewell.